Welcome back, Jodie.
Welcome back, Nicola.
And welcome back to Oz, because you've been in the skies. You've been away.
I just took off to a girlfriend. I'm very fortunate, has a place of all places in the world in Aspen, and a couple of girlfriends are going over, and my baby son said, "Oh, Mum, you can't fly. That's not cool." And I went, "You know what? I'm going to. It's my yes. It's once I turn 60, I said everything's yes. I can decide later." So I went, "Yes, I'm going. Had the time of my life, and and it's not it sort of backed off the season. We got there and they got 18 inches, so had some of my best skiing."
Am I surprised? No. I'm not kidding. Everyone, Di is the weather queen. It could be raining, and you've got this one day set, say, for a party or something. You think, "Oh no, it's going to rain," and I'll go, "No." And it'll be a sunny day.
And parking.
And she's the car parking fairy too. So that's sort of with belief. But it's good to see you flying, because we sort of know at the moment, and the world is all a bit disrupting. But it's great if you can still get away and still keep on living your life the best you can.
Totally.
And I'm so glad that you had a great time.
Oh, so am I.
But
and the plane
I missed
was quite
you at the
empty
back
too.
fence, that's for sure. Because we actually share a back fence,
It's
believe it
true,
or
yeah,
not.
so lucky.
Yeah.
So easy to pop over and have a shams.
Exactly.
Sunset. So our next guest.
Tell us about who have we
someone
got?
that,
We've been waiting a while.
Yeah.
Haven't we?
Yeah,
Timing had
someone
to be
I
right.
admire, and I've always wanted. It's really interesting. You know how you know people or you hear about people, and you think, I really want to get to know them. And today's one of those days, and I hope all you guys listening, because we're going to unpack this beautiful person. I'll do the intro now so you know the hell we're talking about. But just that we're going to look at the real Amanda Goff, and we're just going to pack all the many facets of this beautiful human. So today's guest is a woman whose story challenged society's expectation and sparked conversations around identity, freedom, and reinvention. Before the world knew her as Samantha X, she was an award-winning journalist and editor working for major publications. Then, in a move that shocked many and fascinated even more, she stepped away from the newsroom and created an entirely different life as Samantha X, one of Australia's most talked about high-class escorts. Her story is about far more than the headlines. It's about courage, controversy, vulnerability, and the search, ironically, because we just read in Media Week, authenticity. Since revealing her identity, she has become an author, speaker, and an advocate sharing honest conversations about women, stigma, relationships, and reinvention. So please all welcome Amanda Goff, better known as originally Samantha X. Welcome, Amanda.
What a lovely intro. Thank you very much.
Welcome. That was
you.
a beautiful intro, Di. And I got to say, I sort of concur with everything there. I certainly think that, you're courageous. You're a person that we've both been wanting to speak to for a long time. And thank you. We want to hear your story and tell us a little bit about the old thing of where it all began. But you're a girl from England that went to a private girls' school. Is that correct?
Yes, I grew up in London. First of all, thank you very much for having me.
Pleasure.
Pleasure.
I grew up in London I grew up in London in Wimbledon. I came from a good family in the way that we were, privileged. My father was a successful lawyer, and my mother worked as well. And I went to an all-girls private school. I was the eldest, and nothing untoward happened. I think most people think sex workers come from a background of abuse and drugs, and that really wasn't my story. It wasn't perfect, my childhood. I don't have a relationship with my family now, particularly with my mother. Things were hard, but
Can I interject? Was that because of your choice as Samantha X, or growing up? Just growing up. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, growing up. I suffered anorexia. I think most women did in those days, with the era of Kate Moss and heroin chic. And I turned to drinking and drugs as a teenager. But everyone in London was going to the clubs, and I became one of those girls. Anyway, no, I didn't become an escort until I was 38. So I think things were so fractured with my family by then anyway. I moved to Australia when I was about 25. And that was probably, apart from a few odd trips, that was probably it.
So you were actually a tabloid journo in England, is that right?
Yes.
Sort of back in the
Yes, I was.
heyday when it was, I mean, really those tabloids were pretty wild, weren't they?
They were.
And shocking,
were.
really, too.
They definitely were. And I was taught how to hack a phone, although I don't know if I can say that because I should be in jail.
Yes.
And I was chasing
Yeah.
celebrities down the street, like Paula Yates. Do you remember Paula Yates?
Yes. Very
Yeah,
true.
so I chased her
Yes.
down the street. I waited outside her solicitor's office for 12 hours with a photographer. And then when I saw her, I had to run down the street after her and, call her. I'd said to her, there are reports that you're a bad mother. And I feel so bad to this day about it because a while after she died of an overdose. Yeah, it was terrible. I did things, I loved my job. I did things that were questionable, but it was fun. It was exciting. It was probably short-lived. Because I knew I probably wasn't going to live very long if I'd stayed in London with the partying and the extreme risks and my mental health probably doing those kind of things. So I moved. I signed a 2-year contract with a magazine in Sydney, and I didn't know a soul, and I just gave up my life there and moved to Australia, and it's the best thing I've ever done, to be honest.
Oh,
Yeah,
we
lucky,
love having you.
lucky us, that we got you here. And your buddies also, we've had her on the potty, and she's a mate, is Catherine Mahoney, because she's the English girl and a journo. And
Fabulous. Fabulous. We
That's
love
how
her.
we met. I was interviewing one of her bands.
Ah.
25 years ago, and we just
Wow.
became. She said, "I'm not a lesbian, but would you like to have a coffee?"
Oh,
And,
that is so Catherine.
she's
isn't
great. We
it?
love her book too.
So tell us about the going from becoming a journalist to what was the? Tell us about the story behind Samantha X. How that came about.
well, looking back now, I can't believe I did. I can believe I did it, but it just seems so courageous and mad to do. But I had a very good job in journalism. I worked for Channel 7, Today Tonight, and also, and then I was the features editor on Women's Day and New Idea, and I had a great job. I had a great career. I had 2 very young children, and I was in a relationship that probably, he's a great dad. And there was just something wrong with me. I don't know what it was. There was something that I wasn't satisfied with. I had a very perfect life. I had a great partner. He had a great job. We had a beautiful house in Bondi Beach. I had 2 very healthy, beautiful children, great career. And it's almost like I took that life and threw a grenade into it. I had always been fascinated by the adult industry. As a young girl, my family and I used to go to the south of France and I used to look at the Femmes de la Nuit, ladies of the night, on the Promenade des Anglais in Nice. And to me, they were so glamorous, and I didn't really know what sex workers were. And they would get into these Mercedes and Bentleys and Rolls Royces, and I just think, they're so to me, I just looked out the window. I remember looking out the window and seeing these women and just being so intrigued from a young age. And I guess that intrigue was always there. And when I separated from my partner, we never got married, but we separated, and I was single for a year as a single mother. We were doing week on, week off, and the weeks I didn't have my children, I would date men and to be honest, I wasn't treated very nicely by these men. And it was a very quick, sharp lesson that if men were going to use me for sex, what was I getting out of it? And so I remembered those women in the south of France. I sort of put 2 and 2 together. There wasn't much in the media about sex workers. There was no OnlyFans, there was no sex workers, there was no podcast, there was no one talking about it. And I thought, then I watched, and I don't know if you've seen Secret Diary of a London Call Girl with Billie Piper.
No.
Okay, so it's based on a very famous book.
list.
It's based on
Quite a long list.
It's true.
But that's up there now. Thank you.
30.
It's a great. It's based on a book called Belle de Jour by Anonymous, but it was by a woman who was outed later to be Brooke Magnetti, or I can't pronounce her surname. She turned out to be a professor. Anyway, it was her story. She became a high class escort. Anyway, I was fascinated. So there was these women that could do this job, and you didn't have to be standing on street corners. You could be in a 5-star hotel suite and make thousands of dollars. So for whatever reason, that's what I was going to do. I was going to stop letting these men use me for free, and I was going to make this a career. And also, I was sick of working 5 days a week and never seeing my kids, that I didn't see much anyway because I was a single mother. So
wow. It's a
perfect
huge
storm,
move
really.
to do it. And I kind of like how you, and you're not alone, Amanda, too, when sometimes from the outside someone looks in that, you were in a relationship with a guy that was a pretty decent guy and he was, in finance and you're in media and you got 2 young kids and whatever, but still life is boring. Life is, and you didn't want that average life. Is that correct? That you sort of had you had to seek for something else?
Yes, and while I never want to say being a mother is boring, it can be.
Never,
When you're used to a certain, I was used to a certain thrill and craziness, and then having to be very sensible, very grown up, very mature, and I probably wasn't ready for motherhood. I also, which I'm sure we'll touch on or talk about, had undiagnosed bipolar, so I didn't know I was also unwell.
So that's interesting. So that was undiagnosed when you started.
Yeah, I had no idea I had bipolar. I was
that manic and that normal mode was sort of what you just accepted. Excuse the pun, but
well,
as
I thought
normal.
it was. Yeah, I thought I was just different. I just had days, weeks, months, and now I realize years of mania, and then would come the depression and the suicidal. Sorry, triggering for people. I'm going to talk about suicidal feelings, but then then the suicidal worthlessness, feeling shit about myself. It was just a constant cycle, and so looking back with medicated and more grounded eyes, I can see that I was struggling to deal with those cycles.
So you talk about bipolar. Let's just unpack Amanda and Samantha X. Were they two identities playing a game with your head a lot of the time?
100%, and even now, even though I'm medicated, I'm not zombie-like, but I'm grounded, more grounded.
It's softened it. The drug.
It's made the cycles less extreme and less severe and less regular. But yeah, I do have mania. I know when I'm in mania because I spend a lot of money that I don't have.
Maybe a lot of women in Double Bay go shopping with me. I think I have on the odd occasion. Gosh. So let's come back to Samantha X. Let's talk about her. Let's talk about what that experience was like for you. Because I think there's a lot of people
and I'd
fascinated.
like to know how it actually started. Like, what was your first sort of
I get nervous
gig?
thinking about it.
Like actually going from thinking about it, and
question.
you had sort of all these sort of different thoughts there to actually did you make
nervous?
a phone call? Did you knock on a door and go, I want to work? Or how do you, what happened with you?
I literally knocked on the door because I used to work for a glossy magazine. I used to be the features editor of Marie Claire. And I remember when I was working on that magazine, they were in McMahon's Point in Sydney. And I remember very vividly standing outside this very nice house in Lavender Bay, and a woman came screeching around the corner in a BMW, got out the BMW and started screaming at me, "Are you one of the hookers from next door?" And I was a journalist and I had some bags, and I said no. And and I obviously realised I was standing in front of a posh brothel on Lavender Street, whatever it's. Anyway, that stuck in my head. I said, no, I'm a journalist, and even if I was a hooker, so what? Then I thought,
go you, yeah.
So a few years later, when I detonated my life, I knocked on that door, and I said, "Oh, excuse me," and the pregnant woman answered the door with, pram. There's a pram in the court, and I thought it's obviously not a brothel anymore. And then I eventually found where they'd moved to, which was an upmarket penthouse in North Sydney. And I turned up for an interview and was interviewed by a very posh, older lady. She must have been in her late 60s. And, she said, "Darling," she was dressed in leopard skin. She goes, "Why on earth do you want to do this job? You're educated, you're professional." And I just said, "I like sex and I like money." And then I was hired.
Bingo.
So that was it.
Yeah.
But you got to remember, I was pushing 40. You know, I was pushing
Yeah, I
Yes.
hear you.
And, you know, I was a normal 40-year-old mum, and I just thought, shit, what have I done? You know, like, I'm not 21. You know, my body's had 2 children. But she said, you've got decades ahead of you, don't worry. And then I realised, as I became more prevalent in the adult industry, that the older you are, the more successful you are.
Wow.
I believe.
Yes,
I'll run with
yes,
that.
yeah.
So tell us about the first client, how that came about, and were you nervous?
So I was...
I'm feeling a bit nervous
So am
for
I.
you, you know.
So am I. I mean, it's ridiculous. So am I.
Yeah, I was nervous. I wore, you know, like I think it was probably from bras and things. I don't think Annie Burdett was around then. And I remember it was a very exclusive penthouse. I remember sitting down, looking in the suite, looking across at the harbour, seeing all these little boats bobble around on the glittery water, thinking I would give my right arm to be on one of those boats sailing far, far away from here right now. Anyway, the client was very normal, very nice. It was only an hour, I think, and we talked about Delta Goodrem for most of the hour, because it was at the era of The Voice, where Delta was on The Voice. And anyway, it was the sex was 2 seconds, if that, and 58 minutes were discussing Delta Goodrem and what he thought about The Voice. And then I remember he had to get the train to Wollongong. It was very kitchen table, very basic, very normal, underwhelming. Rang my best friend afterwards saying, I cannot believe that is it.
Wow.
I cannot believe that was it.
In your new book, you talk about this a lot, about counselling so many men that you've met over the years, more than sex. So you actually sit with them and talk about their lives.
That's mostly what the job was about.
See, I found that fascinating. Did you?
It's incredible too, and I sort of get that, you know, you're sort of saying, you know, you could be with the client for 3 hours or something. You'd be lucky if it was 2-minute sex. And maybe that is a lot of people's real life and relationships too,
true.
honestly, you know, in married life or whatever, the 2-minute sex, you know. So
counselling's huge.
But so then why do you, interesting you say that, Di, so then when it is that case, why do most the men then want to pay big bucks when you're a high class escort to
versus
talk?
a counsellor?
Yes, is it because you got your gear off, or you know, is that like, you know,
you wonder,
maybe.
like,
you know, you feel more vulnerable lying naked, or I don't know.
Well, that's a good question, and I think when people are naked, they're more vulnerable anyway.
Yes.
I also think that, that's a very good question, and that's a question I asked men too. Like I was in my heyday, I was charging $1,500 an hour, and I was so shocked that men used to pay that.
There.
And the reason why they said is because they feel that sex workers are not judgmental. And I'm not saying therapists are either.
That's fascinating.
That is fascinating, isn't it?
But I've heard and seen most things, and nothing can actually, I'll tell you what will shock me, if a man says what he does and does what he says.
How's that?
You know, if a man is, no, I won't say that because that's not true. A lot of decent men out there. But, look, I've seen, heard and done most things. And I'd say with clients, they would feel that they can tell me everything. And they did. You know, I've sat with men as they've cried. I've heard very high-powered businessmen talk to me about the sexual abuse they've suffered as children, and, you know, even their wives don't know about that. So you have to it's a very quick lesson in compassion and empathy. And I never used to like younger women doing this job. I used to have an escort agency where I only employed women over 40, mostly over 40. And the reason being is that you are exposed to a lot of emotional stuff that you might not be mature enough to handle. Example, sexual assault, when a man's telling you about his sexual assault or a sexual abuse from a priest or whatever, when a man's talking to you about, really sensitive topics, you've got to be mature enough and worldly enough to, number one, know not to take it on, and to also guide and support them in that time that you're paid to be there with them.
Wow.
It's incredible because there's such a. Do you find, like, I know because I grew up a good Catholic girl. I'm not a Catholic girl nowadays. I believe in the universe and the spirits. Yeah. But like, you know, anyone that was in the sex industry, it was like, you know, was I uncomfortable? Not so much, but I was curious. Like, you know, I was and like as a rule, like most people, you'd have to say are fascinated by the sex industry. Do you find that? Because it's taboo, but it's like, what is that?
Well, exactly. And as a journalist, I was always fascinated by the adult industry. And I remember when I was before I became Samantha, I did an interview job in that famous strip club in King's Cross, Dancers Cabaret, when it was around, the one on top of Hugo's Lounge. And I spent the evening with the strippers, the dancers, and the urge to put on a dress and to go on stage was overwhelming. And that's when I realized that women that worked in this industry were mums, students, normal. You know, they weren't these mystical creatures that come out at night. They were just very normal women that you would walk past in the street, in the supermarket, that looked completely normal, no fake boobs or anything. That was my decision to do later on. You know, they were just very normal kitchen table women. And they'd chosen for reasons for them, their own personal reasons, to make money doing what they do.
And it's interesting too, you know, Amanda, because it's also, I know it's, but it can be in reverse. It's becoming, I don't know, you know more than us, but on the rise also with male escorts as well. So it's not just, you know, so women are seeking men. And I wonder whether, you know, if you've got the experience too with some maybe male friends who are male, you know, escort workers, whether women come to men for that reason too. Would that be the case than just having to be, you know, to have a sexual experience or a sexual awakening maybe after a boring marriage or
or even during their marriage? I know some women. Look, every man thinks they can be a male escort, number one.
I love that. Of course they do.
And number two, most can't. But yes, I also had male escorts on my books. There's also a very successful male escort agency in Melbourne called Her Confidant, run by my very good friend Anna Grossman. She would be a great guest.
We like Anna. She supports us, and we haven't had her on yet. But yes, go Anna. Yes.
Right. And yes, I think there is a rise of male escorts, especially with the film with Emma Thompson in it, Leo Grande.
We loved that, didn't we? Yes, that was great.
But I booked a male escort once, but I got so nervous I ran out, and that was a while ago now. But
did you? That fascinates me. That you how long ago was that, Amanda? That you booked one?
That was probably 2 years ago.
But what? Why? Why did you? Of all people, that's incredible.
I was intrigued, and also I fancied this guy. I knew him in real life. But when I got there, I realised I couldn't do it because the power was off. And as Samantha, I was used to having the power. Yes. And with him, I felt he was taking charge, and I just couldn't do it. I got embarrassed. Then I understood. It was a very quick lesson in how clients would felt when they were with me.
Your alter ego, Samantha X, really played a very powerful role with your decision making, becoming more impulsive, I would imagine.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And you haven't severed Samantha X as such.
No,
because
not
you were
at all.
saying with the drugs, it softened the intensity of it.
Yeah, the medication I'm on is a mood stabilizer. Yeah. So, you know, I think about Samantha every day, and it sounds so stupid to talk of her in a third person because she was me, or she is me. But, you know, I do think of her every day. And of course, that world is still so intriguing for me. And God, these days, who doesn't need the money?
No. So when did you, for our listeners, and I've got to say, you've got several books, but your latest one too, Misfit, I absolutely loved it. I did it by audio, and
you speak well too.
Oh, and you're very courageous and vulnerable. It's sad in parts, and It's a really great one, and you're so authentic, and I really sort of like compliment you for that.
Thank you.
But so how did that sort of come about then? Then sort of deciding to say, I'm going to go sober. I'm not going to do this life anymore.
I think I never talk about my kids, but I do have kids that are almost 20 and almost 18. I'm happy to say this though. I think we were all struggling with the media, and because I was getting better mentally, I didn't need to create another character anymore. I wanted to know who Amanda was, because I don't think I'd ever been Amanda in my life. So I didn't feel the need to be Samantha anymore, and in that respect. And women in the industry always know when to get out, and it was really time for me to get out. And it was a really hard decision, but I think my family members appreciated it. And it didn't happen overnight, but I always promised to stop, and then I eventually realized I didn't need to do it anymore. Because the money's great, but the money was just like water. I didn't. It's just the more you have, the more you spend.
So back to the book. I love the. Didn't you love the title, Misfit?
Yes.
The thing that got me the most and brought me to tears is sometimes we choose to take the baggage with us. Sometimes we push it off and step through life as a different person. And sometimes it just hangs around, and that happens for most of us. Where I got most emotional in the book was your life now, having relationships, and whether you in your mind are carrying that burden, or you've got the gremlins, the negativity coming through. Oh, they won't like me. Talk us through that, because this is the consequence of being an escort. Of what goes on in your mind.
Well, first of all, I wrote that book when I was really, really struggling with
I felt
the guilt. Yeah, the guilt, the shame. The enormity of the consequences of my very public decisions. And I just want to make it really clear that I do not regret being Samantha. I would do it all again. And I think the women in the industry are amazing. The people in the industry are amazing. And I've made some really good friends, and especially the clients. I love all my clients. So I got a lot from the industry. Women do it for their own personal reasons, and I'm the last person to come out and say that was terrible. It wasn't. I really enjoyed my time as Samantha. I struggled.
Good to nail that.
And it's good to know that too, that you got a hell of a lot out of it.
I did, and I loved every second of it, most seconds of it. Now, however, I know why most women choose to stay anonymous when they're working. I have to deal with, I will always be known as Samantha, and that is absolutely fine with me. I've made a brand out of it. I've made a career out of it and a profile out of it. Dating, however, men, I feel, either when they find out, or if they know, I sort of go into a few categories. I go into the woman that is going to be very sexual, that's going to probably have loads of sex with them, that's, understands them and won't expect anything from them. Or I'll be the woman that they don't really want to introduce to people, that despite my past, they will accept me, like they're angels. Let's not forget that men are the ones funding the industry. But anyway, so yeah, I was in a relationship until recently, and I haven't been in a relationship for a very long time. And then I found out he was also seeing half of Melbourne. And that was a bit hard, because I thought, oh my God, why not I just go back to being Samantha? I'm being treated like this again. And this time it was much easier when it was transactional. I don't think real life can be
kind of hard, even though I'm not saying that Samantha X wasn't real life, but I guess you had that persona, you had that power for that time that the men were sort of coming to you more nervous and you were like the strong queen. And real life, it's sort of like nearly welcome to the real world, but it's tough for you when you've, sometimes have these other judgments by other people or who may perceive that, and but maybe they haven't grown in themselves to accept that.
And you can't
you're
push
a
it under
beautiful
the
person.
carpet, can you? Do you know what I mean? Because they'll eventually find out.
Yeah, and it's good that you can be kind of proud of it because it was your decision, but it's you have to live it.
Exactly.
I have to live it.
Well
And, when I went public, it was a very different landscape and it was very controversial.
Yeah.
Now it's not controversial at all. OnlyFans,
everything's out there.
et cetera.
Everything's on the table.
Everyone's doing it.
What about that movie Madam, when we had Rachel Griffith
Yes.
on? And did you like that? Did you see that movie?
I liked the one. I did. The one that was the most realistic, I think, it was an old show called Satisfaction, and it was set in Melbourne. Did you watch that? It was set in a brothel in Melbourne, a drama series, and Madeline West was in it. Okay. And that was a very, very good show about 5 women that were workers, and I loved that show. It's an old one now. I think you can still watch it somewhere, but it was very, very good. It does have consequences, but I'm not the only woman in the world to find dating hard.
No,
I think every
the moment,
woman finds dating.
I think that's it. And I think also now some people are choosing to not date and really enjoying sort of even being an older person or a younger person and choosing to enjoy themselves or their friends or whatever without having to be in a relationship. I think it's sort of like a thing going, there's no stigma, say, either way, where it used to be you needed a husband or you needed a boyfriend or you haven't got, or you're alone, where it's now going, I choose to be.
Yes.
Whereas sometimes it can be the luck of the draw. Amanda, the guy who kind of let you down last time was dating so many people there, here we go again. That can happen, so I think it's happened to the best of us, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Or else it couldn't be the luck game too. It could have been a really decent guy, who is authentic. And, sometimes that's the mystery in life,
But the thing with your book, Misfit, what was going through my mind was whoever Laundromat Man, all these different guys, normal, everyday, g'day, that lovely chemistry. I was thinking, okay, that was me. I would always have in the back of my head, I've got to eventually tell him. I've got to eventually tell him. I've got to eventually tell him. So I was role-playing that as I was listening to the book. That's the truth. And I'm thinking, how would you do it? When would you do it? Would you establish the relationship for weeks or months and then tell him? Or, that's what was going through my mind.
But you're pretty out there anyhow. You just Google you and it'll know. And anyone going on a date these days is going to Google the person and they're going to find out, basically.
But do you say, hi, I'm Amanda. Oh, by the way, I used to be an escort. I really
I do. I just say, they go, what do you do for work? And I say, I'm a journalist and a part-time Pilates teacher. I just leave out. I leave out that decade plus. But then they go, oh, what do you write? Oh, I've written books. Oh, what are your books about? And then I just drop it in like I'm talking about I just go,
Love that.
I used to be an escort and I wrote. And that's when they go, oh, that's so intriguing.
But tell us also about, and I really admire also, and you've gone through and you've achieved it, you're a Pilates teacher. And that takes a lot, but it's really is going within, and you've had to really go within, and now it's like you don't drink anymore, so you're clear in mind, even though I do. I was sober for 7 years, 6-7 years, and I moved to Melbourne. And I don't know if you. Hey, I'm a Melbourne girl.
That's what you do. You get sober and move to Melbourne.
I'm with you.
Too much eating out.
So you have the odd bubbles.
Sober in Melbourne. But what I realised in my drinking now is that I have a healthy fear and respect of alcohol, and I'm not in the place I was 10 years ago where I was unmedicated, undiagnosed, and a lot of people with bipolar and mental health issues self-medicate with drugs and alcohol, and that was me. Now I know I have bipolar and I am, like I said, medicated. I can handle the odd drink here and there, and then I leave it at that. So, yeah.
Right. That's perfect.
So
for you. Good for
I'm
you.
sober from drugs, clean from drugs. I have the occasional drink, which I really enjoy, I have to
Good
say.
girl.
That's great.
I've got respect.
Yes,
So Pilates, we both, I mean, I've
Yes.
been in
Yeah,
Pilates
so
for
tell
20
us about
years.
that.
I
Like,
love
you know,
it.
do you find that sort of like you get peace within yourself, you know, whether it is through the deep breathing or through mantras, through meditation?
I don't deep breathe with Pilates. I'm like,
See, my favourite thing is yin yoga, which is like a
yoga's
form
deep
of
breathing.
meditation, really. And because
Yeah.
I'm an active go person, I love the stillness and I guess the stretching of the body and stuff. What's it for you and teaching people?
Look, it's a real adjustment going from $1,500 an hour to
I was waiting for that.
Oh, yeah. That's bloody tough,
I was
isn't
waiting
it?
for that.
I know.
That's
That
great.
is,
To
Love
check
that.
out chick
that is
wages,
probably
you know,
the
it's
hardest
true.
thing that sex workers have to deal with when they leave the industry.
Yes.
And that's why a lot go back.
Yeah.
But saying that, even though I do my little few hours here and there in a Pilates studio, it's a part-time job for me. It gives me so much grounding and accountability. And, you know, I have to be at a studio at 6:30, in the morning, which means I have to leave at 5:45. And it's mostly women. I just really love making women feel better about themselves. And yeah, I'm proud of myself for achieving this because I never thought I would. It was always a dream of mine to teach Pilates, and I'm
girl.
actually doing it now. And even though I have massive imposter syndrome, yeah, it makes me feel really good about myself, I have to say. And I can look at myself in the mirror and go, I had a proper job today. You know, I'm not saying sex work is not a proper job, but I had a proper job. So
You know what, I've got to give you credit. You are a doer. And whatever it is you want to set your sights on in life, and I think for anyone listening, whatever it is, you know, it's like sort of focus on what it is. But you kind of achieved nearly everything, you know, even when being a journalist, you became that. Going to Australia, you said, right, I'll make it happen, and you're living here. The fascination of being an escort, well, you became Australia's #1 top famous, you know, escort. That now being a Pilates studio, you've actually reached it, and that's really credit yourself. Author.
You know what's intriguing? You were talking
Yeah.
about Pilates, it's all women. There's one other thing that, as Nicola so knows, I was affected by this book.
She was very much, very much
But
affected by it.
like a lot of people, not necessarily just women, through your life, through the storms, there was always somebody there who could anchor you. You had that girlfriend that you'd call and go, oh,
Yeah.
look, this,
good
whatever.
points.
Or someone would step into you, or even the way you met the Pilates girl, like, I don't know, there was anchor points where I went and I'd go, oh, thank God that person's there. Because as humans, like anyone listening right now, you know, Nicola and I talk constantly about connection.
Yeah.
Like that, and they've now proven that makes you live longer, you know, you're happier, you feel heard. You know, those anchor points in your life was just usually it was women who were like, they're going no or yes or you'll be okay. How important was that for you?
Oh, massively. I mean, I don't really, I've never had a mother really. So even though I had one physically, I've never really had the primary carer, a female primary carer. You know how men who don't have the father figure in their life, well, we saw how they turn out in Louis Theroux's documentary, but never really having a mother figure, and bearing in mind my parents are still alive, so I have to be careful what I say. Yeah, I mean, I gravitate towards women, particularly older women. And my best friend's mother has become my surrogate mother. So yeah, without them, I don't know where I'd be, to be honest. It's really important to have, as a female, a mother figure. And interestingly enough, every female sex worker I've met does not have a relationship with their mothers.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that is interesting.
That's fascinating.
I did not know
Bingo
that.
again.
That's sort of something, yeah, looking at as well.
You could unpack that for another podcast.
Yeah,
seriously.
you certainly
Amazing.
could. Oh, wow.
Just a quick question. Is there any myths about sex work you'd like to dismantle?
Well, number one, it's not about sex. So,
Brilliant. Love that.
and that sex workers hate men. I've loved men more so from being an escort. But I'm also aware that I had a privileged experience. You know, not many women can charge thousands of dollars an hour, and live in 5-star hotels. So a lot of women who are being sex trafficked, and that's a very different beast to the sex industry. Yes. In Australia, I would say most sex workers, private escorts particularly, professional women who do this on the side. Like I said, I had an escort agency, and I was so surprised at the women that contacted me wanting to work. Celebrities, journalists. I had a woman working for the tax department who rang me up wanting a job. Police officers.
Intriguing.
Isn't it?
Mothers with kids at private schools, married women. There was no type. Yeah. That really opened my eyes. And also, you got to remember, I had a journalist hat on as well. So I was so fascinated by, even though I was the story, I was also fascinated at the world I was in. Hence my books.
What can you tell us about men that we don't know? I mean, I think you'd probably chatted with more men than nearly anyone who I've met. Is there something? What?
Something surprised you?
Yeah. That we can learn from men.
Well, that they're terrified of women, and number one, most of them are terrified of women. Number two, no one ever compliments them. No, they didn't say this, but it was obvious. No one ever compliments them. And you think about it, we rarely compliment men. And they're very emotional. I was so surprised at how emotional they were. I didn't think they were. But I have a son and a daughter, and I do see that in my son. Yeah.
And tell me, where's Amanda? Yeah, why I'm saying Amanda, why I'm saying that word, and Samantha. Both of them have man in them. Samantha, Amanda.
Oh, there you go.
Have you ever thought of that before?
I just forgot one thing about men. Yeah. They're also very, very, very capable of having double lives.
Oh, well, there you go.
And you don't think women are?
True. I saw it.
We're human.
But to the extent of men, I think that's when you'd know,
any woman who thinks her husband is too busy to have an affair, they are never too busy. They will make time. I mean, look at all the presidents and CEOs and Bill Gates of the world, they made time.
Yes, yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Too. And did you think that also with power, it was more even enticing to have, a high-class escort?
The downfall of every man, the downfall of men will always be their penis. Always.
Amazing.
Zip it up or zip it down.
Your choice. I love it.
Destroys their lives.
Well, and just some of that
for
too.
Some.
Yeah.
Not all.
Yeah.
Not all.
But most of your clients too, was that correct? There were married men?
Not most, no. I'd say 50-50. And out of that 50%, a lot no longer had intimate relationships with their wives. They were only staying together for the kids. It's one of those sleep in different quarters of the house, one of those marriages. Right. Bearing in mind, I only heard it from the husband's point of view. But, yeah, look, it did put me off. It did put me off marriage a lot. But I was never into marriage, to be honest.
Right.
Tell me, where's Amanda now? Are you content? Have you found, are you in a good spot?
I am now. I've moved to Melbourne from Sydney after 20 years in Sydney. I've always loved Melbourne, and I love it here. And my life is quite quiet, and sometimes I can play up, but I'm pretty grounded.
Yeah, you're normal.
We want a bit naughty.
We want a little bit of the naughtiness. We're always a little bit. Have you still got your doggy? Do you still have your dog? Oh, baby.
Sleepy doodles.
I'm a dog queen too. I love
Are you?
it.
What do you
dog.
have?
I've got an Australian cobber dog. So he's like a pony, a big teddy bear that comes to life. He's huge. But he's just the love of my life. He's so gorgeous. And my biggest joys are in the morning, walking him and getting a coffee. And, I'm lucky I might look at the beach and just go, how lucky am I? And then see your girlfriend. Yeah, woof, woof.
I'm happy to see where you are, and I think I can speak on behalf of all of us that ageing is a gift.
Yes.
It comes with so many riches, and every single day I wake up I'm excited about, it's actually irrelevant. I don't actually go, oh, I'm this age. I just go, life is this whole new beginning. I'm so excited every day.
Yes.
And Nicola's even double that.
No,
her excitement.
well, we love our mantras.
We do.
But it's also like anything too, I think, for listeners, you've got to work at it every day. Like whether it's a mantra you say, start
Good
big,
point.
beginning gratitude, or we had like Tess Brower and she sort of said her mantra is, show me how good today can be. And, you'd know your mantras from being a Pilates teacher too. So sometimes you have to reinforce them
Yeah, you do.
to get going. It's easy to sort of wake up and go, oh, I've got a sore elbow. Or, okay, come on, let's go, girl.
Yeah. Well, Nicola's got a bit of a head cold today. Look at her. She's on fire.
Oh, well, I'm excited.
But it was an attitude, you see.
Oh, yeah, well, but I mean, how lucky are we? And how lucky? And I also want to really congratulate you, Amanda, for being so open and sharing your story.
Thank
because
you.
it's not easy, and I know every day can be difficult. But just also quickly with the bipolar too, because we're doing stuff for Beyond Blue, and a lot of people with mental health struggles. Is there any early things, or what can we do these days for anyone who is sort of feeling struggling, or should they see someone? What guidance would you give to sort of someone?
Well, I think bipolar is still highly stigmatized. I think anyone who struggles with drugs and alcohol, there most likely is there is an underlying reason why they're doing it. A lot of people don't realize they have bipolar or whatever. And maybe if you know someone who is struggling, to reach out to them and to have empathy for the fact they probably are undiagnosed, rather than just say, oh, he's a drunk, she's a junkie, whatever, that there is something there. Look, I agree with you with your attitude to life. I was diagnosed with a heart condition 2 years ago, the sudden death syndrome thing. And again, medicated for that now. But it really taught me, I was going to stop feeling ashamed of my past. I had a serious heart thing. I could have dropped dead at any minute. And that's, you've got to take each day, day by day. And also a big mantra of mine is not to care what people think anymore.
Yay, bravo to that one.
What does Mel Robbins, who Nicola and I are seeing next week?
She's coming to
Let
Melbourne.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Yes, she is. Yeah.
But what does she say? Let them.
Yeah.
Don't
Let
take
them.
the energy
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Just
No,
let them.
and let me.
And on that note,
Yeah. Well, we've got a couple of our
yeah,
signature
we just want to give you
questions.
some of
Did
our
you want to
little
shoot, Di?
Why not? If you had the opportunity of meeting someone over the back fence, probably our back fence between
Yay.
our houses, is there somebody that you could think of, whether past or present, that you'd like to meet down there and have a little chat with, maybe that odd glass of champagne with?
Yeah. Look, he's very current, but I've always had the biggest crush on Louis Theroux. I think he's so smart.
Me too.
Oh, really?
Probably not sexually, but I think his brain is incredible.
So interesting, and I would love to pick his brain as a journalist
Right.
about his. I'd love to learn off him about how to interview people, the way he does it, like he exposes these people. But who would I like to live next door to are my children who are in Sydney, and I love them so much and miss them so much. I go back all the time to see them, but I would love to annoy them and be next door to them, even though they would hate that.
Oh,
I
well,
love
that's
that.
great. You know what? That
It's
might
so
even
good.
happen later on in life. You never know, like these chapters, and you never know when you're a grandma or something, even later on, that could
wait,
happen.
speak.
So, and just also, lastly, what makes you happy, Amanda?
Very simply, just being. I know it sounds so American, but just having the gift of life every day, and doing very simple things with people I love. And of course, great sex. But those
you get another bingo.
I love that. I love it that you haven't been put. I thought maybe you could have been turned off sex with having maybe
not at all.
like that. No, I love it.
I'm on the testosterone cream.
Watch out, here's you.
Well, it's good for you, isn't it? What do they say? Makes
my
you look
God.
younger, and there's benefits
it.
to everything. But look, you've been an absolute
Thanks for
joy.
thanks for
Thank
being
you
on
so much.
Over the Back
And
Fence.
and for our listeners, write in DM DM us any sort of questions that you might have. And I do recommend your book. I think it's
Misfit.
fantastic. And if I come down to Melbourne, I am a Melbourne girl. I'm trying to book into one of your Pilates classes. Amanda, I'd really love that. I really would. I think that would be great. So everyone, thank you for listening. Watch us on YouTube as well. Subscribe. It's great.
Because you can see the visual. Like people, I don't think
podcasts
people
are all the
get
go
it.
now. So we're on YouTube, which is good. So don't forget to rate and review. It really helps us grow, and we're really grateful for that. But Di has her own rating systems, Amanda. I don't know whether you know this, but we like the 5 stars. But Di gives her stars to our guests. Now we've got Amanda, Samantha X here. How many stars?
I had a grass. I just had a grass tick on my back.
Oh, do you have to?
Interesting. I've been
got rid of
walking
that.
under bushes.
Wow.
Not doing naughty things. Walking the Granger.
Don't ask any questions on that one.
Pulled it out.
I know too much.
I knew it.
Things that goes on in the studio. Okay, so you get 5 out of 5 for the rating, but you also get an extra 5 for your just your beautiful where you are now in your life with what you've been through. You get an extra 5, so you get 10 out of 5.
Yay! Oh, we double you. Oh, you're going to make us cry. Look, everyone, thank you for listening, and we'll be back in your ears next week.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Mwah.
Bye-bye. Bye.